The courtroom was silent except for the clicking of polished shoes echoing against the marble floor. Officer Raymond Cole walked in with his usual arrogance, his badge gleaming proudly on his chest. To him, the badge wasn't just a symbol of authority, it was his armor, his crown, his ticket to untouchability. For years, he had used it to bend rules, intimidate citizens, and silence voices that dared to question him. But that morning, as he sat across from a woman in her 30s with calm, unshaken eyes, he had no idea that his reign of intimidation was about to collapse. Her name was Elena Torres. And unlike the countless others who had bowed, trembled, or stayed silent before the weight of his badge, she was different. Raymond had built a reputation in the city as the officer you don't cross. He wasn't the kind of man to solve problems, he was the kind of man who created them. Tickets without reason, arrests without explanation, and threats whispered in alleys were his way of reminding people who held the power. His colleagues tolerated him because he got results. His superiors looked away because complaints seemed to vanish in the sea of paperwork. He thought he was invincible. But his arrogance had blinded him. One evening, Elena was driving home after a long shift at the hospital where she worked as a nurse. Exhausted yet relieved to be heading home, she didn't notice the patrol car tailing her. Raymond pulled her over, claiming she had rolled past a stop sign. Elena knew she hadn't, but she remained respectful. She handed over her license and insurance, keeping her voice steady. Yet Raymond wasn't interested in traffic laws that night. He was interested in power. He smirked, leaned into her window, and said words that made her stomach tighten. "Maybe we can work something out. Unless you'd rather come to court and deal with me there." Elena's heart raced, but she didn't flinch. "I'll see you in court, officer," she replied, her tone calm but sharp. That was the moment Raymond underestimated her. He thought she was just another woman who would fold under pressure. He was wrong. The weeks that followed were a storm for Elena. Raymond filed additional charges against her, claiming she had resisted, claiming she had spoken aggressively. Lies stacked on lies, all shielded by the gleam of his badge. Her friends warned her not to fight him. They whispered about how complaints against him had disappeared in the past, how families had tried and failed to bring him down. But Elena carried something Raymond had never faced before, truth and courage combined. At night, she cried into her pillow, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. She worried about losing her nursing license, about being branded as trouble in the community. She worried for her mother, who depended on her, and for the young patients she cared for daily. Still, every morning she woke up, looked into the mirror, and whispered, "I won't let fear win." The day of court arrived. Raymond strode in confidently, convinced it would be another routine victory. He had his usual smirk, the swagger of a man who believed he was untouchable. But Elena didn't walk into that courtroom alone. Behind her stood a quiet army, her fellow nurses, her neighbors, a few brave colleagues who had stories of their own about Raymond's abuse of power. They had been too afraid to speak before, but Elena's determination gave them courage. The judge listened as Raymond recited his fabricated report. His words were polished, his tone commanding. For a moment, it seemed the room leaned in his favor. But then Elena stood. Her voice didn't shake. She told her story with precision and dignity, her eyes never leaving the judge's. She recounted every detail, the fabricated stop sign violation, the inappropriate insinuations, the false charges. And then, one by one, witnesses stepped forward. A store owner testified how Raymond had harassed him months earlier. A young man recalled how he was threatened into silence. A retired officer admitted he had seen misconduct but feared retaliation. Raymond's face drained of color. For the first time in his career, he realized his badge couldn't save him. The courtroom atmosphere shifted. What began as one woman's defense turned into a public reckoning. Every word spoken pulled another brick from the fortress of intimidation Raymond had built. The judge's gavel struck. Charges against Elena were dismissed entirely. But that wasn't the end, an investigation into Raymond's actions was ordered on the spot. Raymond left the courtroom that day not as a proud officer, but as a man stripped of the power he once abused. His badge no longer made him untouchable. For Elena, it wasn't just about winning her case. It was about showing others that silence feeds injustice, but courage starves it. She went back to her nursing shifts with her head held higher, knowing she had not only defended herself but also sparked a fire of accountability in her community. And so, the story ends not with a woman crushed under the weight of a badge, but with a woman who proved that no one, no matter how powerful, stands above truth. Speech balloon now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of Elena's courage? Would you have stood up against someone like Officer Raymond, even when it felt impossible? Share your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to read them. And if this story moved you, don't forget to support our channel, Be Kind Always, by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing it with others. Because kindness and courage, together, can change the world.